Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 456. My name is John Morgan, and Cold Coffee is with me once again here at the MMA Roadshow, where every week, for one consecutive week, we have gotten together to talk about MMA. No, listen, I'm going to say it right off the top. First of all, let me just say Cold Coffee is in the incredible Casa de Cold Coffee in Las Vegas. I am here in St. Louis, the gateway to the West. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. But before we get too far anything, I just have to say thank you. Cold Coffee brought the crew together in Las Vegas at UFC 296 and was able to cover for me because I was a little bit ill. My schedule was a little bit crazy, and I thought, by the way, that you did a phenomenal job, man. I really enjoyed what you guys did. It was a unique experience listening from the outside, but I thought you guys did a great job. And I'm just guess now maybe I'm wondering if this kind of lit this fire into you now, where you're like, this is my podcast. It really always has been my podcast. And John Morgan, maybe it's time you step aside because the real talent is right here.
That's right. I'm just going to keep leaving the without John Morgan on the title.
Funny.
I don't know if you caught it.
That
it's
was
so
funny.
I was doing all these little things. I was like, how can we do it where it's just going to drive him crazy, but not too bad?
Yeah.
Because I even showed some of the guys. I was like, what do you think if I do this? They're like, oh, yeah, that's good. That's good.
That was good.
But no, it was kind of funny. It was great getting the guys. I was so lucky that everybody was in town. It was good that we had Nolan was in town, so we were able to get him on. And shout out to Nolan. Nolan's listened to like every episode, and like I tease him because like we all have buddies that do podcasts.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up with everybody's, but it's funny. He sent me like one of these images that like Spotify or one of the podcast things sent him like showing like what podcast was like his number one listened podcast, and it was the Roadshow.
Wow!
And he logged over like thousands of hours of like listening or something. I was like, heck yeah, man!
Awesome.
So I was glad that we were able to get him on, and I was glad that Oscar was around, and we had Jose on. Hopefully someday he's gonna get picked up by an outlet one of these days.
He's trying. Keep
no,
grinding,
it was
young
so
man.
funny.
Keep grinding.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Keep grinding. It's funny because we had everybody, and it was just kind of just very, very loose. And it's funny. There's points where, and it's funny because Nolan was just laughing, looking at like, what is John going to think about this? Because like I'd be talking to Nolan about a point, but then Oscar and Jose would go off on a point, and it was like we were having two different conversations, but we happened to be taping the podcast at the time. So it was fun, and it just kind of I just let it go because it was something fun and something different. But yeah, no, we had fun, and it was fun to kind of bust your balls a little bit. But I knew for reasons, if you could have been on there, you would have been on there, and your schedule's getting busier and stuff, and it certainly with feeling well doesn't help anything. And listening to your voice right now sounds like you're still sort of dealing with it.
Oh man, dude, yeah, it's for some reason I got sick. It was funny. So we'd already agreed that I wasn't going to do the show on Wednesday. And I had a lot going on. One of them was my kid's guitar concerts. Like I didn't want to miss that, and I was packing, and I was leaving the next day, and I had a couple interviews that I had to do for my CFFC duty, so it was just going to be really tough. So we agreed that, hey, man, I'm going to miss tomorrow, and I appreciate that. And then I woke up on Wednesday morning, and I was sick. I mean, bad. So I was like, okay, well, this worked out good because I don't have to talk because, yeah, even right now, like I'm battling back a cough. So I got sick, went out to Atlantic City. Man, Atlantic City, I was scared to death that I was not going to be able to get that show done, man. I literally was just pounding tea and water, and I had my hand on the cough button because I was coughing constantly. And fortunately, I masked it all together pretty good. Myself and CM Punk were working. He actually afterwards gave me a big hug. He was like, bro, like you did good to make it through that, man, because I had talked to him in the afternoon, and he was like, man, you sound awful. So I made it through, which was good. And then came back for UFC 296, watched that. And then went home. And it was funny, dude. I've been slammed, so I haven't gotten to see the reaction. But the half episode that day was a joke. I was literally just laughing to myself. So the fine folks over at patreon.com/MMA Roadshow that support us, I appreciate you for even putting up with my voice because it was terrible, right? So then Sunday we had really cool plans. We had family plans. We had reservations at the Fontainebleau, the brand new hotel that has been under construction for like 10 plus years in Las Vegas. And man, I'm telling you right now, I took my wife and kid there on Sunday night just for kind of a relaxing little staycation day or whatever. That place is nice. It is not cheap, but it is nice. And there's like 3,500 rooms there, man. It's this huge, huge property. So we did that, which was fun. And then I took a red eye Monday night from Vegas to Raleigh Durham, and was hoping I would get some sleep. But it was a direct flight, which was awesome. But it was on Delta, where I have no status whatsoever. And I guess Delta, for whatever reason, when you buy like the basic economy, they won't even let you pick your seat. So I thought I'd be able to pick my seat the day of, but instead I got a middle seat in the back between a couple of other, sizable gentlemen or whatever. So I was trying to sleep overnight. I couldn't do that. Got to North Carolina, drove to the wrestling event at Campbell University. We did 3 meets, so we did three events back to back to back, and now did that last night. Then flew to St. Louis today. And I think I'm sicker now than I was when I left town last week. So it's rough, man. It's going around right now. Everybody's got it, man. It's going around. It is
going around. It is going around. But I'm telling you, man. Circulated air from the planes. If you, I can even go. I feel like I go on a plane sometimes. I can get off a plane feeling worse than you go on it. You feel stuffy and sort of congested. But I know there's a bunch of like sort of chest colds and chest stuff going around. So I wonder if that just exacerbated the whole situation for you and just made it worse. I mean, it didn't help that you were hanging out with Ian Gary and his wife. I mean, at that one other casino, but I don't want to tell people about that, and I know why you got sick, but it's all good. But I'm glad that Ian allowed you to share things.
My goodness, you're going there? You're that guy? Wow. Cold coffee is getting inappropriate around the holidays. Yeah, and look, obviously I do want to talk a little 296, but I guess holiday plans, I mean, look, it's a slow time. Like, this is as close to an off season as we get, right? In MMA, we're
100%.
Getting 3 or 4 weeks with no events.
I love it. In fact, I already showed John. Obviously you guys can't see this because we're not filming this, but I did put on my bestest sweater.
Oh my gosh!
It's more like a sweatshirt, but it was a gift for one Christmas, and it's a PBR Christmas sweatshirt, which has PBR cans and reindeers flying in the air, and
it's incredible.
Snowflakes somewhere, but
it's worth doing video. It's worth launching a whole video podcast just so people can see this. It's incredible. It looks like it's made of fine stitching. It kind of looks like I would compare it to, say, maybe like a New York Rangers hockey jersey, right? I mean, the colors of PBR. But it's got across the shoulders, it's got some blue stripe there, and then some white and red stripe across the chest, and then it's got the big PBR logo. There's reindeer, there's snowflakes, and I'm just telling you right now, like, you and I have known each other for a long time, and I consider myself, a good friend of yours, and I hope that you feel the same about me. But whoever got you that is clearly your best friend. I mean, they're way past me on the ladder, because that's incredible.
They knew exactly what I needed. It's funny because the guy that got me this, I used to play in a band with. He was my bassist. So, I'm telling you, if you ever want to form a good bond with somebody, if your rhythm section, I was the drummer, he was the bass player, you got to be lock in sync. And I think he understood that. He understood the assignment of what I needed that year, I guess. And
telling you,
it's funny. It sits in my closet. It doesn't fit the best, but I'll never get rid of it. And I squeezed into it today for this because I was like, well, this is sort of the pre-Christmas episode.
That's right.
And then we're going to have the next one will be the just post-Christmas episode. So I have another ugly sweatshirt for next week. But this one I figured was more fitting.
Did you say
because it actually falls on this date. It's not a PBR one. This one, I saved the PBR one for this one because it actually I don't know. It felt right for this one to bring this one out. The other one's not quite as cool as this one, but it's still a ridiculous.
Let me jump in and clarify something, because you said another ugly sweater. Now listen, you may have an ugly sweater, like you may break out,
but not this one.
Oh no, sir, that is not an ugly sweater. I mean that, like,
I appreciate that. You're right. You're right. I'm sorry, PBR.
It's basically between that and Fedor sweater as to like what is the greatest sweater of all time, dude. It's neck and neck, and I'm having a hard time, man. I mean, look. You guys both like to knock out people, with big shots. I mean, you wear nice sweaters.
That was the one fight that I thought would happen one day. People were saying, you and Fedor need to match up, and I was like, no, guys, no. Just leave some things to be better just talked about and not actually see play out. Maybe I'll take a picture. I'll take a picture for the gram after this before I somehow peel it off of myself.
You should.
I'll take a picture for the folks.
It is absolutely incredible. All right, listen, I didn't get to see you much at UFC 296. I was exhausted, man. After the show, Basically
Yeah.
no sleep. Flew in from Atlantic City, went straight to Las Vegas. I mean, obviously the adrenaline of the show was incredible, but afterwards I was like feeling sick and tired. I went home and got some sleep before I did the and a
Remember,
half
I
episode.
almost left gear. Remember me almost leaving gear? We were like the
Oh
last ones
yeah.
leaving the room, and I almost left my tripod in the room. Was pulling out to leave, or no, I was putting stuff into the trunk, and it's like you go through such a routine. You're like, okay, this goes here, this goes here, and I went to put stuff in my trunk. I said, this goes here. Where's the thing that goes here? And I was like, are you effing serious?
That was funny.
And I was like, because you were gonna follow me out the other side path where hopefully there was gonna be no parking to get out.
That's right.
They nipped that one in the bud.
Yes,
That was,
they did. There used to be a little hack where you could get out of the T-Mobile Arena parking lot for free instead of $30 on fight night.
One.
Not
Yeah,
anymore.
they blocked that. They put a whole big old barrier up on there. I was like, oh,
Yeah, you had to-
got
you
it.
had-
They figured it out.
You had to make a little turn. You had to get creative. You had to not follow the arrows. The arrows are more suggestions than they are really rules. You know what I mean? But there used to be a way to get out of there for free, and they have fixed that. But
They finally fixed it. But yeah, so I ended up having to go back in and get my tripod. And I will blame it on the fact that my suggestion to the UFC for the year-end show was actually taken up. And on the last show of the year, as we were wrapping up the post-fight, after everything, the PR came up and said, "We had a great year, guys. We want to thank you for here, and we have a little surprise for you in the back of the room." And lo and behold, almost as a send-off to their partner Modelo, there was a bunch of Modelos in the back of the room, and
Bro.
I blame those Modelos.
that is funny. We did. It was funny. As you mentioned, Nolan King was there. It was nice to sit there, and me and you and him kind of shot the breeze for a little bit and caught up and just talked about some stuff and had a few frosty beverages. I grabbed a few of the Modelos that were left over and took them home and had a few more the next day. But yeah, it was kind of funny because you were like, dude, you're like, I had been asking for this and they brought it. I'm like, first of all, I can't believe you've been asking for it. That's hilarious. But second of all, it did kind of make me think like, like Modelos. I'm like, did somebody have like a whole bunch of Modelos at the warehouse and they're like,
At the warehouse.
Yeah, like January 1st, we can't.
What are we
use
gonna
this
do with
anymore.
these?
They're like, give it
Yeah,
to the media.
we can never use these. If I was them, they could have easily, and if that's the case, they easily could have just been like, well, I'm just going to visit the warehouse a couple times and just slowly stock that away on their own. But I'm glad they shared. But it made it nice. It was a nice send off. I like it when that sort of stuff at the very end, they get it. They covering them for a year is a lot of
Yes, it is.
events. It's a lot of business. So it was just nice at the very end of the year. They're just like, hell, guys, you're going to be stuck in here for another couple hours. Like, here, have a couple beers and process your videos. So it was a nice little toast end off of the year. But I blame that for me almost leaving my roughly $400 tripod, which I ran. I don't run much, but I'll run to go get my gear. And the guy at the security almost wasn't going to let me back in. He's like, I'm not supposed to let you back in. I was like, bro, it's right there. Just let me get in. It'll be better than me trying to tell you how to go in there and look for my tripod. He's like, okay, and it literally took me 30 seconds.
That's awesome. Good for him. Let
I
common
wasn't
sense
trying to
prevail.
run.
Let common sense prevail sometimes. I know you're there
Yeah.
for security, but come on, man. You just saw us walk out.
You just saw me walk out, and I said, hey, have a good night. Like, come on,
See, hey,
So
the importance of being nice to people. You said, hey, have a nice night. If you had been maybe if you'd been
That's
kind of a
it.
jackass to him, you'd walk back down there and he'd be like, sorry, bro, I can't let anybody in. But because
Yep.
you were nice and polite, he was like, you know what? I'm gonna be polite to this guy too.
I'm polite a couple of times. I can be known to be polite from time to time. Most people would probably contest to that, but I am nice from time to time. And it's funny because you say that in the back of the room they had that station where somebody makes like espressos or whatever.
Yeah.
I went back there to because I always go and get dirty chais. I just love dirty chais because I never go to Starbucks. I never go to any place that actually has chai. So I'm just like, I'll have chai. And I'm like, dude, can you throw in like some shots of espresso? And I'll just call it a dirty chai.
I was gonna say I've never
So
heard
I
of
go-
that. Did you make that up or is that a thing?
No, I think they call it other things, but that's what I've always called it.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's another phrase. I remember last year when I said that the woman that was working it told me another name, but I forgot what we decided upon. So I just went back to my default dirty chai.
Dirty chai.
But what's funny is that when I went to ask for I was like, hey, can I get a couple dirty chais? And they're like, oh, you're the guy. I was like, wait, what do you mean I'm the guy? I was like, wait, someone. They're like, our boss who normally does this. She says there's a guy that always comes back and asks for dirty chais, and he's really nice, and just take care of him.
Oh.
Because I start like the tip jar, because usually I'll just be like, here's a couple bucks. And they're like, dude, thank you for doing that. And then later on when I got more, they're like, look what you started. And there was a little cup set out and more people put money. I was like, dude, it's just the thing you do, or whatever. But by being nice the previous year, their boss told them to look out for me. And when I went and did it this year, they were super, super nice, and they gave me my dirty chives, and they got tipped out or whatever. But it was so funny, and just, but it's like what you said. If you're just nice to some people, they'll be nice back at you.
It's a good life lesson, and I can vouch that while I like to joke with you sometimes, the angry Kenny does pop out sometimes, especially after long work days and that sort of thing. You are overly nice to people sometimes. Like, I love riding in an Uber with you because I know I don't have to talk. You know what I mean? Like, I know I don't have to talk. Like, Kenny's got this, bro. I like Cold Coffee's handling this, dude. Like, I ain't got to talk to this dude. I'm going to sit here on my phone and get my text done because Cold Coffee is going to handle this conversation.
I've had many, many Uber conversations of us with rides places. It's just like, yep, what's going on, driver? What's going on? And I'm always feel slighted when there's times when they don't speak English. I'm like, okay, I get it. But whenever they don't talk, I'm like, well, what the F's wrong with you? Like, come on, let's like it's so awkward. Funny. I'm riding in your car. I feel like we should talk.
That's so funny. I'm like the exact opposite. I'm like, wow, thank you, dude. Just get me to point B, please. Just get me to point B.
Yeah.
So, all right, listen.
I
did want to talk to you a little bit about 296. Obviously, the continued fallout from Leon Edwards is what everybody's talking about, and kind of what is going to be next. Now, the night of, I asked Dana White, look, Bilal Muhammad is here. He weighed in as the backup. These guys have a history together. I mean, there's a little storyline there. I know we don't matchmake on the night of fights, but a lot of times with title fights, they'll be like, yeah, that's definitely what we're doing next. And Dana was like, nah, I don't really want to make that decision right now, which, okay, that's fine. And then, Leon comes back, and it's like, well, listen, Leon, great win for you here. You kind of get to call some shots as a champ, but don't you feel like maybe you guys have some unfinished business? Here's a dude on a 9-fight winning streak. He's been taking out some big names. Is this the guy that you want to fight? And Leon was like, I don't know. Like, I'm pretty good. And I don't know. I was a little bit surprised by it. I mean, I get it, right? I guess there's no reason to back yourself into a corner and make a matchup right away, right? Give yourself options, right? Give yourself options, But there's also a part of me that just feels like, man, Bilal Muhammad has worked himself into this position, and Leon, he struggled to gain popularity. And I just wonder if that would be something that would help him gain popularity if he was just like, yeah, if that's the best dude on the planet, if that's the dude they say is number one, then give me that dude next. I already took out Kamaru Usman twice. Y'all said he was the guy. I took him out. Then Colby Covington's been talking. I just took him out too. If y'all are saying this is the next guy, give me this dude. And I feel like people kind of like respect that behavior of a champ that's like, give me whoever's next, versus like, well, this is a little bit more interesting, or I think this one, drives a little bit more interest. And like I said, I don't want to criticize too much because I think it is smart to leave yourself options on the table. But I don't know. What have you thought about the fallout? And do you envision a scenario where Bilal doesn't get this title shot?
I mean, he's definitely a deserving guy. And I think what we've also seen, too, is that Leon, as much as he likes to say he has full control over who is next, I think we just saw recently with this the whole Colby that's not actually true.
Yeah.
You might, he said that Colby wasn't the deserving guy, and they still made that matchup. So I think it's just a matter of, I think in his mind, he is really focused on that GSP record of how many title defenses. And I think any champ that's focused on that is going to try to set up the best possible path forward. And I think the best possible path forward does not start with Bilal Muhammad. It does start, if you're talking about the toughest, most deserving. I mean, Bilal Muhammad and Shavkat Rakhmonov, who the hell wants to fight those two dudes?
Yep.
Nobody. And especially not the guy that's like, okay, I need to get whatever, I don't know what the number, 7 more, 6 more, whatever. That's ridiculous, because to get through both those guys would be amazing. I think it would be certainly almost, this is going to sound wrong, easier if we got past those 2 hurdles, because then that's taking away the 2 toughest competitors that are out there, the 2 toughest contenders. But yeah, I mean, I just saw it. I'm not angry with it. I'm not whatever. I think also what we've seen in the past, I mean, whether Dana said it or not, I mean, if you give the guy the backup role, at one point it was like, well, that was his justification of getting some title shot. Well, he was the backup role, he's going to get it. So almost without saying, I can see where Dana doesn't want to just sort of, put the line down and say, okay, this is our decision right now, because we've also seen where these crazy matchups happen where somebody comes out with so much hype that they're just like, oh my God, it has to be this fight. As much as Shavkat did against Wonderboy, I thought Wonderboy looked a lot better than I thought initially going in that fight.
I
So
did
it's
too.
not like I'm clamoring for Shavkat to be like, oh man, after seeing what he did, like, oh my God. I still think he is absolutely fantastic and has every bit capable of beating Leon.
Yeah, but get one more.
I think that's
Just
the
get one
toughest.
more. Get one more.
Yeah, get one more. I think that's almost a tougher match than Bilal, but I think Bilal's firing better on all cylinders than Shavkat. So maybe that sounds weird saying that I think Shavkat's more dangerous because I think Bilal's fighting at a higher level. I think when Shavkat's fighting, I felt like he seemed more human fighting against Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy was able to keep the distance, and now that maybe that could be because we're hearing what was he hurt his foot?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely worth pointing out that he had like a bad ankle injury or whatever.
Yeah,
so that
so
certainly has
something
something to do
was
with it.
going on.
But I still agree
you
that
know.
it was why I thought. I don't want to say that, you and I didn't get to talk before the fight. I wouldn't say that I thought Wonder Boy had a good chance of winning the fight. I mean, I picked Shavkat, but I think that people thought that Shavkat was just going to run through Wonder Boy. You always
Run
forget
over him.
how tough
Yep.
Wonder Boy is, right? Like, Wonder Boy is just a weird puzzle, you know what I mean? And
His takedown defense looked good too.
did.
Like now maybe that's partially because the ankle was working well, so he wasn't able to go in on some of these takedowns. But he was just standing. I was like, when he tried to go, I was like, Wonder Boy worked on that defense, and he looked so good. And I was just like, one, that's why I'm always glad that Wonder Boy, as much as people are starting to try to want to write him off and say, okay, well, we don't think you're going to get there, he still puts on these incredible performances against the top contenders. He might come out on the wrong side like he did in this instance, but he left leaving better in my mind because of his performance.
Yep.
Regardless of whether Shavkat wasn't 100% or not, because I, as well as you, picked Shavkat, and I thought he was just going to bully Wonder Boy,
Yep.
and he didn't. But I mean, boy, on the flip side, and completely unrelated, having Tenacious D there,
that was cool.
how cool, dude! I saw him in the back on the video. I was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be my favorite walkout ever. I was
That
like,
was
this
super
is it.
cool.
This
He
is
ended
so
up-
cool. I thought it was so badass.
He ended up sitting right next to me, actually. He ended up sitting. I mean, there was like
Did
a little.
they?
Yeah, there was a barrier between us. You know what I mean? But he had. So it
Yeah.
was funny, and I'll tell you what. It's funny when I got in.
Zach Brown was there. You never gave him my shout out.
Don't know who Zach Brown is, but yes, I guess
He's
he
the guy
is.
with the hat that was like right there at the very beginning. The bearded guy,
Yeah.
good looking guy. Kind of reminds you of me, except he had a really cool hat. Great country artist, but he was there right at the beginning.
Right,
Like, literally, I think he
from
was
the
there
first
for the first prelim.
When I saw that,
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was, but that VIP section usually doesn't fill up early. And when he came in, I was like, I wonder who this dude is. And then I saw your tweet that you're like, that's Zach Brown. And I think I've kind of heard the name, but I don't know him real well. But that is cool. Like, Anthony Kiedis used to go in the first,
Yep.
first fight night. Like, I love fight fans that go to the first fight night. But it was funny because I don't know if maybe it had been talked about. I'm not sure, but it was funny because I was in my seat and I was hanging out and I looked over and I never know who's sitting there. And a lot of times I don't even look at the seats. But when I was sitting there before it was empty, I looked over. And the two seats next to me on the other side of that barrier where I sit were labeled Tenacious D.
Tenacious D.
Yeah, and it was funny because I took a picture of it, but then I didn't tweet it because I was like, you know what? If that's a surprise, like I want people to be surprised and like see, like,
Yeah.
whoa, Tenacious D is here. Like that's awesome,
Yeah, then they threw him up on the screen. It was so awesome. I love seeing some of the clips that came out afterwards, like Jack Black out there stretching and those guys doing their thing. It's so cool, and I'm just glad. And I think if anything, I mean, like he put on a great performance. He didn't want to go out there and really just suck, knowing that Tenacious D finally came out.
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty cool. Dana did say in the back, he's like, I like walkouts like that. He's not big fans of them singing and doing whatever. Which, if you would have gave those cats the ability to do a walkout and actually singing and playing, they would have done it 100%. And I guarantee it would have been awesome.
They would have killed it.
But I can see where Dana's like, okay, there's a cost element probably, and two, just the effect and the pacing and the speed.
Yeah.
They want to be very, very in control of that. They want that walkout to get out there, get them lubed up and get them in the ring to fight. Like they're not trying to put on a 3-minute, 4-minute walk, having these guys do their thing. But I thought it was really, really cool doing that. And it's funny because you mentioned like it's cool, and I thought about Anthony Kiedis too, because Andre Feely was in the back and he was talking about Zach Bryan, a country artist that he likes, and I was like, well, it's not Zach Brown as Bryan, but I was like, did you see Zach Brown out there? And he's like, oh, I didn't. He's like, I'm still team Zach Brown, but he's like, but he went on to say, he's like, that's cool that these huge stars show up early to watch all the fights and
Yep.
get in there early and take it. You know, if you're going to give them these seats, you know, it's cool when they actually use it. They use it to the fullest. They don't just be like, oh, hey, thanks for the seats, Dana. I'm going to go party and then I'll meet you in time for the main event. Tell me when, you know, when Donald gets there and I'll walk in with him, you know, like they show up at the beginning and watch it. So yeah, mad respect to like the diehard fans, the guys that we're not seeing all the time, but when they get that option, show up, you know.
Super
so
cool.
Kudos to them.
I love it.
What's up with like Kid Rock just like hanging on fucking Donald's sack every time he comes in there? They like a pair now. Every time Donald comes, like Kid Rock walks in, and I feel like it's happening so much they don't even announce him anymore.
I know.
They used to be like, oh hey, it's Kid Rock, you know, they put his music on and then they say something. Now they don't even say anything. It happens so much. I'm just like, kid, come on, like maybe come on your own, or you don't always have to just like tag along. Like it's just awkward. I feel like now
they're playing the music, they're playing the American Badass.
Yeah, but then they don't even mention it. He's right behind Donald. Like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, guys, there's Kid Rock. I don't remember them in the broadcast even mention him. They just play his music and then they just let him be like one of his like handlers. I'm like, bro,
I tell you what's
doing it so often now. The broadcast not even giving you mention. Maybe that was just a slip on the broadcast side for not doing, but it's just like, come on.
Yeah, maybe they're like, let's have it up. I will say, you know, obviously when he walks in, I was actually talking to somebody on the plane about this today. It is incredible how the arena goes crazy when he walks in, right? I mean, it's nuts. But there was one part, like, everybody clamors to take pictures and shoot video. I don't, because I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm sitting on the other side of the arena, dude. Like, there's cameras right in his face. It's cool. But I will say it was pretty, I don't know if funny's the right word, but, you know, as you do when Trump's in there, they started getting some F Joe Biden chants in the arena. And it just happened.
Yeah.
Bro, I just happened to look over at Trump when he was hearing it, and the smirk on his face, dude, of just like, yep, shaking his head and smirking.
Oh, he eats that shit up.
Oh, my God. I couldn't believe it.
I mean, regardless of how you feel about the dude, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of him. I mean, he's still a man in a powerful position, a potential, you know, he's a presidential candidate, and he's choosing the time to come out here and watch it. So, I mean, the arena's going to go crazy, and, you know, with reason. I mean, Colby, I swear to God, sounds like he's paid to just mention the dude, like by plug, like he must get a fee every time he mentions his name. He's like so over the top, like weird about it that it's just kind of strange and oddly like the dude's just he's like borderline stalker, like fanatic, man. He just sounds weird when he rants about him. But there are people out there that absolutely love the dude, and yeah, I mean, still seeing him come in, the guy is one of the most famous people in the world. He's maybe not the most famous, like Colby says, but he is pretty darn famous. You know, being a former president and then, you know, having the reality star stuff. But anytime somebody walks in that, and even just the affair, the fact they have to shut things down behind the scenes to walk him in, they have to shut things down in the arena to let him come in. It's a big to do, and you can't not look at it and just take in the whole spectacle. Yeah. And I mean, it's a fighting crowd. I mean, it's blue collar folks. So I mean, like that's kind of, you know, the masses that he's preaching to and trying to reach out to, so they eat that shit up. But I think anytime a president or a former president kind of walks in, you kind of got to give them the respect. You got to kind of give them, you know, the props for sort of showing up, regardless of whether you like the man or not. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that he comes out and that he's a fan of the sport. I mean, outside of that, you know, you don't see Dana get excited about too many things. He's excited when the Donald shows up. So it's kind of cool to just kind of see them all just sort of like play to this particular character. You know, this guy, like Dana comes in and rules the roost most nights. This night he takes a back seat.
He does.
When obviously when Trump's in there, but it's unique.
It's
I thought,
cool.
and I like that the broadcast didn't go to him. They let him just watch the show. Don't throw it. And it's funny, I say that. I was like, man, they haven't really shown Trump that much on the broadcast. But then where he's sitting, you can't help but see him depending on where the action on the floor is, you know. So he's getting time on the screen. So, but again, just like we talked about Zach Brown and some of these guys showing up, the guy's not just showing up for the main event. I mean, he's getting there, you know, I think it was right at the start of the main card or maybe slightly just before that or whatever. So he's doing some time on the ground, you know, and I mean, whatever you think. I mean, he's repping for the sport, so you got to give him some points for that at least. So
it's actually
pretty cool.
I think I've talked about it before. Like, we don't spend a ton of time on it on the broadcast, but when we do CFFC shows in Atlantic City at the Hard Rock Hotel, that used to be the Trump Taj Mahal. So the building that we do our fights in is the same building that they had those first Zuffa UFC events that Dana always talks about. That that Trump was like, hey, come to your events here. And so it's always a little bit of history, a little bit of nostalgia. Like I always feel pretty cool, like getting to do fights.
They go way back. Yeah, they go way back. I mean, I think a lot of people think that it's like a recent partnership or friendship. Like you said, I mean, these guys go way back.
They do.
So
20 plus years.
It's pretty cool. It's more than just face value. Like those two generally respect and like each other a lot and have helped each other out through their career. So good for them.
They do. All right, so you mentioned Colby Covington. I did want to get your thoughts on this because I don't ever really like talking about Colby Covington that much because I just feel like because of the things that have happened between us that like anything I say, people are going to say, yeah, but it's personal to you and da-da. And it's not. It's really, really not personal to me whatsoever. But I'm a little bit surprised to see. I mean, I guess surprise might be wrong because it was it's just there's no other way to say it. It was a poor performance, man. He did not give himself an opportunity to win the fight. But I'm a little bit surprised at the reaction because, man, I feel like people have jumped entirely off that bandwagon, and now you got people that I feel like they're suggesting, Colby will never win another fight as long as he lives or something. And I don't know. I mean, it was a bad night. There's no question about it. I don't know that he's ever going to be a champion, you know what I mean? But, like, I still think he can be in some meaningful fights. And I don't know, I was a little surprised. Where do you stand on that? And were you surprised to see? Because I feel like, man, people are just, like, off. Like, they're not down for it anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely wasn't the performance anybody was thinking. It certainly seemed like he was gun shy the whole time. But, you almost kind of wish that for his sake that he took a tune-up fight to kind of just get see how things were working, like we look at the highlights of what he's done in the past and he's always been about pressure and that pace and just sort of swarming and overwhelming guys. And he did none of that this fight. He was always on the back foot. Leon did a great job of just sort of like cutting off the ring and the cage or the octagon, whatever you want to call it, and making it his own. And it just always seemed like Colby was a bit gun shy.
Yep.
That last round, I mean, Leon, he kind of shot himself in the foot, by trying to really go into Colby's world, almost like he was trying to prove a point. He wanted to grapple and take him down. I think he would have made it look even much more of a 5-round dominance if he just stayed on the feet and just kind of kept peppering him. Colby had some times when he was throwing at the counters, and was trying to get in there, but, it was almost like Leon was waiting for that as well and was just picking his shots. I just felt like it looked like a rusty Colby and a rusty Colby that was he was in his head too much. He gave Leon a lot of respect with good reason, but he felt like he did such a good job of sort of talking up this role of what he was going to do. And on Fight Night, we saw a completely different character show up. Like he didn't get the script from what was being said all through the week. I think it's going to be a tough ask for him to, depending on where they take him, if they try to make him run through, 3 or 4 fights to get back to a title fight. I just don't see him wanting to do that anymore. I think he's now switched into a role of just playing a heel and picking the biggest fights possible. And right now, that's not another shot at the title. If the title switches hands, say if it goes to like a Bilal or somebody else, then there's a potential, I think, where Colby, the fresh matchups can get back in there. But now you got him calling out like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, where in my eyes, if the other 2 contenders that we're talking about are Shavkat and like Bilal, why don't you call those guys out to show yourself as being like he wants nothing to do with those guys? And even if, I think when it comes to wrestling, his wrestling is going to have to be what's going to win that fight with Stephen, because if the same guy shows up, he's going to get pieced up on his feet, But I think that he's confident with Steven that he's just going to, maybe the old Colby will show up.
Right.
And so in that sense, maybe it was just a ring rust version that we saw. He spent a lot of time away. It just felt like we saw a version of Colby that forgot what the old Colby did in there, I mean, when we saw clips of him training, he was hitting mitts fine. He was like what you would expect in the limited footage that I saw. But, when you see things like even the ceremony weigh-ins, and who knows if it was true and maybe I'm just listening, whatever, I thought like when they've matched up, you kind of see Colby saying like, "I was in character."
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I was saying this, and like I'm like, bro, like just stay the full thing. I felt like even he was in his own head during the week. You know, like he wasn't even just set and whatever. And I think a lot of that just maybe let doubt enter his head, and I think that's what we saw. I'm not clamoring to see a rematch anytime soon for that. I mean, I think that he needs to work his way back up. I mean, like he got that shot because of the heat, because of the time away, because of we haven't seen him really take any crazy losses since the last time we saw him lose. But it's just like I don't care to see him. I mean, I just don't think he wants to do the work to build himself back up. I think the best role for him now is just purely to call out fights for money and make his money and go out and do his thing, you know. But yeah, he's not going to win the belt anytime soon.
It was clear why he called out Wonderboy, right? Like, he's a guy that I think stylistically, he's probably very tough for Wonderboy. Obviously, he's the oldest guy in the division. He's coming off a loss, whatever. I get it. I totally understand why. I think it would be badass to just be like, if Colby was like, man, this chump Leon Scott doesn't want to fight Bilal Muhammad because he's not a real champion for the people. He's trying to handpick his fights. You know what? I'll fight Bilal Muhammad. Like, if you guys think that's the number one contender, I'll fight that guy.
That would be a baller move.
I don't turn down anybody. Dude, that would be a baller move and put yourself right back in the mix, right? Where people are like, okay, hold on. This dude's serious, you know?
Because then he could go back and talk and say, all right, you all saw that fifth round. You all saw I won that fifth round. I had more to give. You know, I just beat the number one contender. Like, give me another shot. And then it's a matter of him trying to steal the thunder for Shavkat. In that instance, yes, I could see him getting another shot, but without beating the top two at least guys or challenging one of those two, no shot. There's no shot at all.
That to me is the only path. That is literally the only way he could get back there. So, and certainly that'd be a tough fight for him. But I don't know, just something I thought he could do if he wanted to get back into it.
I mean, I think you'd be hard pressed to find people to put money on Colby if he got lined up against Bilal or Shavkat after that performance. Wonderboy is a different situation, but it's like Wonderboy's the guy that he's not in contention. He was trying to make another run, but like, let's be real. I mean, nobody was thinking that, you know, Wonderboy was going to make the run and was like the next to have his hands on the belt. You know, he had a tough path to get there, and I mean, and they gave him one of the tough guys, but he stepped up and took it. You know. No one wants to fight Shavkat. No one wants to fight Bilal. If you want to be the guy to get another shot, I mean, and you don't want to do the whole path to get back up there, which you should be doing after this much time off, and then we saw the performance. He's got to challenge Bilal. Yep. Make Bilal ask for him, and then the UFC will make that fight happen.
100%.
But Bilal's smart enough to be like, I deserve the title. Why do I need to take another fight? Dude's on a crazy streak, and he's taking dudes. You know, when he's been calling for the shot, like he deserves the shot. And I hate when people are trying to now say that Shavkat can skip him. I mean, that would just be really, really shitty on the UFC's part.
Nah.
You know,
Shavkat's day will come. Shavkat's day will come.
Bilal needs the shot.
I agree. Yeah, Shavkat's day will come. You got to give Bilal that shot now. I completely agree. All right, listen.
And give Shavkat another guy. I mean, like, Wonderboy's a great win. Like, Shavkat's got a great number of fights, but let's be honest. I mean, like, jumping from Stephen Wonderboy Thompson to a title shot is a bit of a leap.
Yep.
It's a bit of a leap, you know. So I don't know. Bilal, it has to be Bilal. It has to be Bilal. Find the right location to make it make sense, Dana. I mean, but it has to be Bilal.
Yep.
For sure. 100%.
I completely agree. All right, listen, I mentioned that I'm in St. Louis now. I want to tell everybody about that. I'm here for CFFC Match Day Thursday night. And if you haven't checked out CFFC Match Day, we're doing NCAA Division I wrestling. And I just want to say, I think if you missed them so far, this might be one to jump in on. Now, you remember I told you the battle at the barn. I told people, man, you should check this one out. It's going to be amazing. I think this one is going to be that type of matchup as well. So tomorrow night, it's the Stifel Theater here in St. Louis. It's this old theater, like fancy, nice, real theater, beautiful, decorated, all that. And it is in Missouri taking on Illinois, right? So it's this big rivalry matchup. They're actually playing college football this weekend as well, so they're making it part of that.
Ooh,
like a whole
nice.
Right. It's called Mizzou to the Lou. Like this whole weekend is, you know,
I like it.
Missouri to St. Louis, Mizzou to the Lou. But we're inside this theater, bro. We went over there today after we got in town. We went over there for a production meeting and kind of walked through everything. This place is sold out, man. There's like 3,000 seats in this theater and it's sold out. It's going to be packed. Missouri is ranked number 3 in the nation, so they are a powerhouse, man. They are a phenomenal program. They feature several athletes that are ranked in the top, including they have one of the number 1 guys in the world in Keegan O'Toole. So I'm really looking forward to this match. I think you're going to see high level wrestling, to say the least. You actually have, I was disappointed. You have I was really looking forward to this when we found out it's not going to happen. So you have Edmund Ruth, who's the brother of Ed Ruth, right? And he actually wrestles for Illinois. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I was like, they couldn't think of any name a little bit further off. Edmund and Ed.
Well,
Ruth.
maybe they want them all the same. People have like the same first letters or whatever for their kids.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's here, and it was gonna be cool because he was gonna wrestle Peyton Mako, who's the son of Steve Mako, the wrestling coach at ATT. But unfortunately, Mako's hurt, so that's not gonna be happening. But Ruth will still be in action, so definitely looking for that. But yeah, if you haven't checked out CFFC Match Day, please do so tomorrow night. I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be some really memorable scenes, and it's going to be some high-level programs as well, and rivalries on top of that. So it's I think it's going to be a fun scene, man. I'm looking forward to it. I will not be on camera. I am, of course, in the production truck for these events. But I like it, man. I'm getting the bug, dude. The live event production, man. It's fun, man. It gets those little different nerves ready. You know what I mean? Like, I love doing commentary, of course. But obviously MMA is more my thing than wrestling. But being part of the production team.
For now. Next thing you know, it's gonna be Wrestling John instead of MMA Junkie John or MMA John. It's gonna be Wrestle John.
Hey,
Truck John.
We got
Production Truck John.
Production Truck John. We got some submission grappling. We're gonna have some Muay Thai in 2024 as well, man. The CFFC brand is growing, bro. So come check out Match Day tomorrow night, man. I think it's gonna be some really memorable scenes, and
especially and that's cool. Number 3, like seeing number 3 ranked Division I NCAA team is legit. I mean, like, that's cool. I was just trying to look at the rankings. Illinois is not ranked at all.
They're just outside. They do have some votes. They do have some votes, but they're just outside.
Do they?
Of it. Yeah, they're just outside of it. But yeah, I mean.
Oh yeah, they have 4. Yeah, I see. They have 4 votes.
Yeah,
so they're
a good team. I mean, they're a good team, but like Missouri's the powerhouse for sure.
Missouri, that's crazy. Number 3, man, that's legit. They got them. They're ranked above Iowa, which Iowa is like a powerhouse. Yep. So that's legit. Obviously, the dynasty Penn State is up there at number 1, deservedly. But yeah, to see a number 3 team and some of the guys, that's pretty cool. That's some high level shit right there. High level shit,
bro. Missouri's roster has 6 wrestlers ranked in the top 6 in the nation in their weight class right now.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's baller. That's crazy.
Monster.
That's cool.
Looking forward to it, man. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So definitely tune in. They're fast. You know what I mean? It's just one meet, so it's gonna be 2 hours approximately. So it doesn't take a lot of time. The action moves quick, and dude, the scenes are gonna be cool. Rob Haydak that runs the CFFC, man, he's a big proponent of collegiate wrestling, and he's just trying to elevate the platform and really get them some new eyeballs. You know what I mean? And obviously the UFC
fan base is crazy.
Yeah.
Collegiate college wrestling fans are nuts. I mean, it's a lot of family, it's a lot of friends, a lot of people, but they are diehard fans. They're loud. I mean, if it's anything like meets I went and saw when I was still with Ohio State, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's really cool. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Yeah, the crowd's really loud. I love it, man. So if any of that transpires, I'll have to watch one of these match days because if any of that transpires into the broadcast, it's going to be fun to watch. Because I mean, there's nothing better than like you see these guys go out there, especially when like the underdog pulls it out and the crowd just goes absolutely nuts.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, man. Very cool.
This will be the biggest crowd we have. So like the one in Wyoming was incredible. Like you said, we were out there on that Wild Horse Sanctuary. The visuals were amazing. I mean, there's been some good matches. The high schools were cool. We're back in these old like tiny high school gyms with all of our production equipment and everything. Like those were fun, and those were smaller crowds, but it was a small building, so it got really loud. Especially because it's it's an old gym. The sound's just like echoing off the thing or whatever. It was good. But dude, this is going to be 3,000 people in this theater, man. I think it's going to be pretty special. I'm excited for it.
You have to let me know, man. You guys ever go to Ohio State? You gotta let me know.
I will let you know. That would be fun. I know
they got a bit of a program. It's not in the top 5, but it's still a bit. It's still pretty badass.
I think they know a little something about wrestling in Ohio. I've heard
they know a little something. They know a little something about it. They know a little something. But I'm biased. I am a bit biased, but yeah, that's legit, man. That's cool. That's very cool.
I love it, man. Maybe if we end up doing Ohio State someday, like you could come work with the crew, or at least just hang out. That'd be
dope. I'd take some time off to go do something like that. I'm always down to go back home.
That'd be awesome, man. All right, well, listen, it's an off week for the UFC. It's a couple of off weeks for the UFC. It's the holidays, so I don't want to keep people too long. As you know, we will continue to put out shows each and every week. I finally missed one, man. It was like 8.5 years that I never missed a week, but props to Cold Coffee and the rest of the crew there, man. Nolan, Jose, Oscar, man, all those. I love all those guys, man, and they did a good job making it fun. I actually really did enjoy listening to all y'all and a little bit of chaos and just kind of shooting the shit, man.
Yes,
it was fun.
It was chaos.
It was just the right amount of chaos and just the right amount of trolling me, so it was good. But anyway, yeah, I can feel my voice about to go. Hopefully the coughing hasn't been too bad. I've been trying. Hopefully I get over this. Apparently my kid's really bad when I get back home, so luckily the schedule's pretty light the next couple of weeks. We do have Fury Professional Grappling at the end of the year, so mark that on your calendars as well. So we're doing that at the 2300 Arena. But yeah, look forward to that. In the meantime, hopefully everybody enjoys their time off. Hopefully everybody enjoys the holidays, enjoys the family, because that's what it's all about, man. And we really appreciate you. Thanks for listening.